Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be discussing the different sampling techniques. Without further ado, let's get this lesson started. As previously mentioned, it is quite tasky if we will include the entire population in a certain research or certain study. That's why out of this population, we are just selecting individuals that will make up for the sample. This sample is the representative or subset of the population. But the question is this: how should we select the sample out of the population? There are certain techniques or certain suggested methods on how we can select the sample out of the population. And that is what we will discuss for today, which are the sampling techniques. Let us also recall the concept of primary data. These are first-hand data collected by the researcher himself using any of the following methods. So first is direct observation or measurement. Next is through interview using questionnaires or rating scales. Third is through mail of recording or reporting of forms. This is done if number 2, interview using questionnaires or rating scales, is not possible. That's why, as the researcher, you will send the questionnaires either through courier or email or fax to the respondent. And after a while, after they have answered it, they will return it to you. However, the disadvantage of this mail is that sometimes the questionnaire is being misplaced, or there are certain missed items or unanswered items in the questionnaires that the respondents forgot to answer. In that case, returning it back to the respondent is quite tasky and costly. Number 4 is experimentation, and number 5 is the most basic, which is registration. The issue in primary data is that you as the researcher should maintain data privacy and confidentiality. You should assure the respondents that all their answers, all the data that you will be gathering from them will stay confidential and private only for you as the researcher. You will not disclose it to other parties who are not involved in your study. As for the secondary data, these are second-hand data or information that the researcher collected from published or unpublished materials, including but not limited to book, newspaper, magazine, journal, and from published and unpublished thesis or dissertation. However, the issue here is that you should always cite properly the references or the sources of those data in order to avoid plagiarism. So sampling techniques are the methods of choosing the sample out of the population. This is very crucial because if you have an error in choosing the sample out of the population, then the credibility of your data will be at stake. The following are the two types of sampling techniques. First is probability sampling. It works under the process of randomization or by chance, meaning in random sampling, all the members of the population has an equal chance of being selected as sample. However, non-probability sampling is quite biased because all the members of the population do not have an equal chance of being selected. So between the two, in order for you to select which of these should you use, you should always go back to the objective of your study. The objective of your study will tell you what kind of sampling technique you should use. For example, the teacher wants to see the effectiveness of flipped classroom strategy in his class. So he will conduct a study and the population involved will be acted upon by probability sampling in order to select the sample so that each member of the population will be given equal chance of being selected. However, if a doctor tries to find cure to COVID-19, then it is expected that his respondents will be the COVID-19 patients. With that being said, there is a certain bias towards the few members of the population, and that study will require non-probability sampling. So all the probability sampling works by randomization or by chance. However, this is very time consuming and costly because selecting randomly from a very big population will really require you time and effort. First type is simple random sampling. It involves fishbowl. You write all the names of the population in a fishbowl and pick one at a time randomly. Number two is systematic sampling or systematic random sampling. It involves choosing the nth participant from the list. For example, you have a list of 100 students in your school, and then you are just picking every fifth participant on the list. So the fifth, the 10th, the 15th, 20th, 25th, 30th, and so on. You will just choose them as your sample. Third one is stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling involves splitting the population into strata. It is important to note that strata are mutually exclusive groups. It means that one person should belong to one stratum only. These strata are homogeneous group. For example, race, gender, religion, and so on. One example of stratum is religion. If a man is a Roman Catholic, then he or she belongs to that group only. He cannot belong to the Muslim group or the Buddhist group. That is what we mean by mutually exclusive groups. One person should belong to one stratum only. Cluster random sampling divides the population or the group into clusters. These clusters are usually based on geographical location. For instance, you want to have a study about modular learning. So there, your population will be all the students who are under modular learning. Cluster random sampling involves you to group those students into barangay or city. And then in that barangay or in that city, you will randomly pick students under modular learning. Fifth and last, we have the multi-stage random sampling. It just involves the combination of different probability samplings or random samplings that I have mentioned a while ago. On the other hand, non-probability sampling is biased and it lacks randomization. The first one is convenience sampling. It involves choosing respondents based on the convenience of the researcher. It is otherwise known as accidental, opportunity, or grab sampling. Haphazard sampling, a researcher picks respondents, but his choice may be biased and may not be truly random. For example, a researcher wants to include all the students in their school as the respondents in his study. So he may stand in front of the gate and choose students who enter that school gate. It may look like random, but we are not sure if his choice of the respondent will be really random or is there a bias? Is there a criteria why he selected this student? There is a question on the fairness of how he selected the respondents out of the population. Purposive sampling, it involves only the participants who matches the purpose of the study. A good example of this is the one that I've mentioned earlier. If a doctor wants to study the effectiveness of a certain drug to SARS-CoV-19, so the doctor will only choose purposefully those patients who are suffering the COVID-19. Expert sampling involves getting the sample based only on the list of experts in the field. It depends upon the researcher who he will label as experts. Heterogeneity or diversity sampling, it involves the researchers to choose members or respondents so that all views are represented. However, this representation may not be proportional. For instance, a researcher wants to identify if sex is affecting the study habit of students. So he will select 10 female and 10 male to participate in his study. However, even if both male and female are represented, 10 female and 10 male may not be proportional to the entire number of female and entire number of male in the population. Number 6 is modal instance sampling. It involves choosing only the most typical or most common members from the list. For example, a researcher wants to know the reason why people want to play video games. He also found out that the most common players are between 15 to 25 years old. With that being said, he will only choose the respondents whose ages are between 15 to 25 years old. Quota sampling, it involves a certain quota that the researcher needs to meet. Say for instance, in a research, he needs to interview 10,000 female and 10,000 male. So it is up to the researcher how he will collect 10,000 male and 10,000 female just as long as that quota is met. Snowball sampling involves networking or referrals. Like for example, in tracer studies for graduates, a university wants to identify where are its graduates now. So if the university has identified one graduate, that graduate will be interviewed, and then after the interview, the researcher will ask where are the other graduates. So as the research progresses, the researcher will get more referrals as to where the other respondents are. And finally, self-selection. It involves the participants volunteering themselves as sample. So that's it for the sampling techniques. Again, the purpose or objective of the study will tell the researcher what kind of sampling technique he will use. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.